Good morning, Internet. This is Color Me Coral. I know it has been a while. I have been crazy busy. I mean, holidays happened and then I got sick for 2 weeks. You may also notice the lighting isn't as great this time. My lamp broke right as I was starting to film this, so we're just gonna have to live with my one really weak light bulb over there. Okay, so Happy New Year. I've got a lot I want to talk about today. We're gonna talk about New Year's, new beginnings, and something I've wanted to talk about for a whole month now ish is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And in other breaking news, Walmart is changing its name to Walmart. You think I'm kidding? Look it up. It's breaking news. Anyway, so Star Wars. We'll start there. Let's be real. Oh, goodness. This is a controversial topic. I was really not expecting that out of Star Wars, but I probably should have expected it because everything these days is controversial. I loved it, honestly. I went and saw it opening weekend with my best friend. It was awesome. I wore my Darth Vader sleeper, and there was an actual R2-D2 droid running around, and this is why I like going to premieres and opening weekends, because it's just a party with all the people who love it as much as you do. So, there was a lot of great stuff about it. Does it have flaws? Yes, unfortunately, it has some big flaws. We'll talk about those. But some of its flaws, I feel like we need to take into account that there's an entire another movie coming. And these things are meant to be seen in sets of 3. So I'm sure that when the original trilogy came out after the second one, and probably even the first one, well, probably more after the second one, there were things that people were like, I don't know about this, man. Or I really didn't like this. Or this had no explanation. That then proceeded to get explained. So there's some things that we'll put on hold. We'll reserve our judgment, or at least I will reserve my judgment until I see what happens. And there were a lot of things I liked, some things I'm lukewarm to, and some things that I just didn't like. Let's start with things that I liked. As far as things that I liked, we can start right at the beginning because this movie opened up really strong. I took notes while I was there the second time because I knew that I would forget some things because there were just so many amazing things. So I love the opening sequence with the bombers and the rebels and the First Order. I almost want to say Empire every time. But I loved that sequence for a lot of reasons because it showed you exactly where the rebellion was and what was going on and set up the entire thing for them. But also because you had the sequence with Rose's sister where she's on one of the bombers and we keep going to her and we're like, is she going to be able to drop the bombs? And all the other bombers are getting killed and we're like, are we going to have any victory? And like she struggles and finally gets it and then dies. And the sequence is done well enough that then later when Rose is introduced, when we see her holding the medallion, we know right away that she has a connection to this other character who, even though we didn't know their name necessarily, I don't remember her name if they said it, we had a connection to her. We were invested in her success. And while we were sad that she died, it was also like, good, because she was able to accomplish what she needed to accomplish. So that was a really good opening, and I also really loved Poe's bit with holding for General Hux. Holding for General Hux. I can wait. I just thought it was really funny. And also, it was one of those things where it was a really good joke because it was funny and it had purpose in the story. It wasn't just like them saying dumb things in order to be funny. He was literally using that as a distraction so that he could then shoot them and things. And I thought that was brilliant because that is one of the best kinds of comedy, especially in a movie like Star Wars that isn't inherently a comedy to make it funny. So there were a lot of things I liked about the beginning. The movie started off really strong. There's so much I could talk about. My other favorite funny moment was when Rey is on the island with Luke, learning how to use the Force, and so he's like, close your eyes, reach out. Because, I mean, we've just established that she's going from the ground up. She knows like nothing about the Force, and so that's a really natural thing for her to do, and it's hilarious because the rest of us know all about the Force, basically. Like, we're all scholars. And so we know that that's not what he meant. And Luke, you can see his face where he's like, he rolls his eyes, realizing that he should have expected that, and then deciding to have fun with it. You feel that? You feel that? It's the Force. It's really strong with you. So I really loved that part of it because it was natural with the characters and really funny and part of the plot, and it wasn't something that was separate and just there for the sake of comedy. So I liked that. I think that was my favorite funny stuff. The other things I really liked were the emotional journeys, especially Kylo Ren and Rey. I liked how they had their Force conversations and the way that was going because it was an interesting parallel with Rey on the island with Luke, and she's really getting better advice from Kylo Ren than from this Jedi Master legend. Because, well, because she just is. Like, Luke has cut himself off and isn't in the place to be giving her advice, while Kylo is at the same place as her in a lot of ways. They're mirror images of each other, like Snoke says. And he's like, your counterpart in the light will rise. And so they are counterparts to each other. And they're on a journey together. And so they're able to help each other more than their predecessors are able to help them, which I found really interesting and I loved. I wasn't sure at first, honestly, about the Force Skype chats that were happening because I was like, well, it's cool, but why is this happening? However, that was resolved because Snoke talks about how he was connecting their minds and using it to manipulate Kylo Ren and these different things, which gave it a reason and it made it make sense. And so I was like, okay, yeah, then I like that. We had some other good character development going on with Finn. I really liked, especially when you compare how he was at the beginning of The Force Awakens to how he is at the end of The Last Jedi. He has some really good character progression going on, especially with Rose. I thought their relationship was so cute. I was so mad for like 30 seconds when I thought she died, and then she wasn't dead, so everything was okay. Anyway, where was I? Okay, let's talk about the confrontation with Supreme Leader Snoke, because that is where the rest of my favorite things lie, really, the heart of them. So one thing that I really liked was how we had this parallel thing going on. I love parallels in stories because they're really good for making a point. So Luke is talking to Rey about the fall of the Jedi, and he says that their downfall was their hubris, their pride. They believed that they owned the Force, that they understood it and everything about it, and they could control it. And that was ultimately what led to their fall. Interestingly, when we see Supreme Leader Snoke and his confrontation with Kylo Ren and Rey, what ultimately brings his downfall is also hubris or pride, because he has manipulated Kylo Ren, which Kylo does not appreciate. You can see how ticked off he is when it's like, I manipulated his emotions, so that and Kylo's like, and we're all over there like, Snoke, you might not want to have said that in front of him. But Snoke is like, I can read his thoughts. I cannot be betrayed. And right there is where we see the hubris of Snoke. And that ultimately gets him killed. And I love the sequence there because you can see the decision-making process going on in Kylo's mind when the one that he's hiding from Snoke, because he cares about Rey. They've had these conversations and things, and he's like, you know what, Snoke? You thought you were manipulating me, but you were really just setting up your own murder. And it was fabulous. And the fight sequence that ensues right after that, I also thought was beautifully choreographed, with the fighting of Kylo and Rey being so in tune with each other. And they had several moments where they just worked together so fluidly. It was amazing. It was a work of art. And like, and then you get to the end, and Kylo Ren holds out his hand and is like, join me and we'll rule the First Order and da-da-da-da. And one thing I really loved about that is that you're not sure what you want her to choose. Especially if you consider, from Kylo's perspective, he thinks that his mother is dead. He does not know that Leia is alive. The last he knew that the ship she was on was blown to bits and she was out in space. He hasn't seen her, and we haven't had any more of the Force sense moments between them since then, so he believes that Leia is dead. And that was his only connection to the rebellion that would have made him want to go there. The other connection the rebellion has is to Luke Skywalker, who for all intents and purposes for Kylo's character, tried to murder him in his sleep. I wouldn't want to associate with them either. So Kylo is like, you know what? Let's let old things die. The Sith, the Jedi, all of it. And we'll start something new. And I was like, I mean, I don't want the rebellion to die, obviously, but I mean, this isn't a terrible idea. Because, I mean, balance in the force and everything. So another thing is one of the reasons that their fighting could have been so fluid is because that could have been when the force was finally in balance. You never know, because Luke wasn't reconnected to the force at that point. Snoke had been killed, and so you only had these two, light and dark, but they weren't either of them completely Jedi or completely Sith. They created balance. And I'm a big fan of the neutral force theory, which is that the Jedi are wrong and the Sith are also wrong because they're both extremes. And you need the middle ground where you don't let your emotions control you like the Sith, but you don't abandon them either, because at that point you kind of abandon your humanity. So you need the neutral force, which is what I'm hoping they explore more of in the next movie, because I think we're going in a good direction where they've kind of realized the failings of their predecessors. I really hope that's what they do. So that scene was gorgeous, and the emotions and character development, and I mean, I know why they didn't have her accept that, because then the movie would have been, the next movie would be pretty boring because they'd just be ruling the galaxy, and yeah. Anyway, so those were the things that I absolutely loved. Now let's talk about some things that didn't go over so well. So things that I didn't like as much. I thought Chewie was underutilized, and I didn't think Captain Phasma had a real purpose in the movie. We're going to start small here. Those were a little bit meh for me. The Canto Bight. Its introduction was done poorly because the Maz scene. The scene with Maz felt really forced. It felt like I was being given a tutorial for the next side quest on a video game, which is not what I want to feel like when I'm watching a Star Wars movie. It kind of felt like they had already contracted this actor for 3 movies or whatever, and then the person writing the script was like, what? I have to put her in there? I guess I'll just stick her here. And so it didn't feel like she really belonged and didn't contribute much to the story and was just super weird. I didn't like that at all. The Canto Bight itself wasn't too bad. I did feel like it wasn't alien enough. It just sort of looked like Earth with a couple aliens in the background. The casino itself, I was like, was it just an Earth casino? I find you one. But, so I didn't, wasn't a huge fan of it. Although it just didn't impress me much. While it was fun and a fun little thing that we learned some about our characters, it just wasn't integrated into the story well enough for me. The scene with Yoda and Luke and the burning tree has been one of the controversial scenes, honestly. And it sort of was, there were some things I was like, really? Partly it bothers me because Yoda says, yeah, it's time for the Jedi to die, and he agrees. But then later, Luke is like, she won't be the last Jedi. And I'm like, the heck? Because I'm like, neutral force. I'm so for letting the Jedi end because they were wrong. So that scene, a little weird. Also, apparently now Force ghosts can summon lightning. Eesh, they better not keep using that, because really when characters die, that means they are not in the story as active participants anymore. Force ghosts are not supposed to be able to do that kind of stuff. I'll give them a pass mostly because it didn't really affect the plot much, because they were on an island planet far away from everything else. So it didn't really affect the plot, so it wasn't too big of a deal. One thing. Big thing. It's gotten a lot of attention. General Holdo. Purple hair lady. So I liked how the characters were committed to their decisions. They weren't just being blown about by every new gust of plot wind. They were committed to what they decided to do. This includes General Holdo and Poe and the rest of the crew. However, General Holdo and the storytellers in general make a big mistake. They don't tell us the plan. Like, she's just going, and Poe is like, we're all gonna die. And we're all like, yeah, you're all gonna die. General Holdo, are you okay over there? And she has a plan the whole time. And she neglects to tell the members of the bridge. So the people working right next to her somehow don't know the plan. I can pretty much guarantee if they had known the plan, there would be less people helping Poe with his mutiny thing, and that would have gone down way differently. Also, it would have been a really good choice for them to tell the audience the plan so that we could sympathize with both sides of it, because we can see logic in not telling Poe the plan because he obviously didn't like it. He started like throwing things and getting really mad when he found out the plan eventually. He didn't really give it a chance. He didn't really listen. So we can understand not telling Poe. We know he's a hotshot. We know he just goes and does whatever he wants. But I can't understand not telling anyone. So it would have been, and we would have been able to sympathize with Holdo more instead of having to give her a big redemption moment at the end, because she was like, other than not telling everybody, a good character, and her bit at the end with ramming the Star Destroyer at light speed was really cool. Um, but yeah, not telling us the plan was a really big oversight in my mind. So those were the big things, really. I was quite surprised that Leia did not die in this movie because, as we know, Carrie Fisher has passed on. So I did not expect her to make it all the way to the end like that. And I don't know exactly what's going to happen moving forward. There's a couple possibilities. We'll just see. I did like how we thought she was going to die in space and then she forced her way back into the ship. I thought it was very clever and like totally gave me a heart attack. So that was really cool. Um, yeah, all around good movie. I enjoyed it so much, and even with its flaws like that, which I agree, not perfect, but no movie's gonna be perfect. As a writer myself, these things are hard. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm excited to see what the future holds for Star Wars because we have a lot of things in the making with the movie Solo and the next yet unnamed entry in the trilogy. Oh, please explore the neutral force. Anyway, so yep, I'm hoping to be able to make more videos more consistently this year. I've been a little on and off getting started, but here we are. I've got more structure in my schedule going, and we're gonna figure this out. Anyway, so I hope you are all having a great time. Remember to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. What was your favorite funny moment? Oh, how do I get my thumb on the screen? I'm so not used to this. What was your favorite funny moment from from The Last Jedi? What was your favorite dramatic or emotional moment from The Last Jedi? And what was your least favorite thing? I'm really interested to hear. I love hearing other people's opinions, especially when it's not the same as mine. I will see y'all later.